What adjustments do the Blazers now have to make heading into Game 2?
Well, that reporter is absolutely right. I think that's Anthony Slater. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's a legitimate question.
It's a legitimate question, and it was a question that, if you're watching the game last night, through a quarter, I thought the Blazers keep blowing their assignments. Why Enes Kanter is in there not? Why is he standing midway in the lane when there's a pick and roll for Steph?
I thought it was miscommunication.
Right, I thought it was blown assignments, miscommunication. But then when it happens again and again and again, you realize, wait, they're doing what they're being told to do, which is guard Steph Curry the way I would imagine he has never been guarded since his freshman year at Davidson. Never been guarded where there's a scouting report on him, which is, oh, this guy's the greatest shooter we've ever seen. And I understand Terry Stotts was frustrated, and I get the point, Steph scored 33 in the second. The Rockets' defensive game plan against the Warriors was sound, and it was because they have a ton of experience against the Warriors. They had built their team to defend the Warriors. They weren't good enough to beat them, but that's a separate question.
Yeah, they did have a good plan.
They had a good plan.
Yes.
And by the way, in that second half of Game 6, when Steph went off, he wasn't shooting practice shots. He wasn't shooting step into it at the line, just ideal shots. They were tough shots. If the Blazers do not adjust, they will not be competitive in this series. So with respect to Terry Stotts, he's 36 hours after a Game 7 win. He's raw. He's upset because they got blown out. They must adjust, and the players on the team. There was an article in The Athletic I read this morning. The players on the team all said, we need to watch the film and see how to change, because they didn't make the Warriors work for it. Steph was great, but it was a lot because the Blazers almost seemingly wanted him to be great because of a mind-boggling defensive game plan.
And from the defensive standpoint, you're watching the game, you think that they don't have communication, they're blowing their assignments, or maybe this is a team from the Eastern Conference that's not familiar. They didn't play Golden State 4 times during the season. Damian Lillard and CJ haven't played them for the last 5 years a number of times. But that wasn't the case. So they're going to have to make some serious adjustments. From a defensive standpoint, they have to be able to adjust what they were doing. And, Nick, the thing that let me know that it was a game plan, when I saw Kanter initially doing, I thought that they were trying to protect him because he's a defensive liability. Then I see the young kid, Zach Collins, who's a great athlete, who comes in from Gonzaga, and they have him at the free throw line or in the paint. So I know it was an overall philosophy. Now, we can say a built-in excuse. We were worried about the emotion of game number 7, them winning that on Sunday afternoon, flying to Oakland, playing the game. It was documented. They didn't practice when they got to Oakland on Monday, didn't have a shoot-around yesterday. So the first ball to go through the bucket yesterday for them was in the pregame. So to me, that was to me more than anything else, just a lack of energy. They could not get the energy where they wanted it from game number 7, because in game number 7 against Denver, there was a build-up to that from game number 1. They looked a little tired. They looked a little lack of preparation. And you cannot have a game where Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum, they shoot the ball 27 times in total of the 83 shots. From Golden State's standpoint, Klay and Steph shoot 47. They get 20 more shots than the other backcourt of Portland. So those are the adjustments that are going to happen if Portland is going to make this a series.
And while the lack of shoot-around, the lack of practice, to me, that can account for some of Portland's struggles on the offensive end. But the struggles on the defensive end, to me, were they lost.
That's legitimate.
They lost this game before the game. Because Steph Curry, how many threes he make last night? 9 of them? Well, 7 of them were what are called uncontested. Steph can make contested threes.
Practice shots.
Right. He can make
they got
threes.
the ball boys and the old fat coaches guarding them.
You give Steph 10 uncontested threes, and he going to make 7 of them. He's going to shoot 70% on uncontested threes. It was ridiculous, and all they need to do when they watch the game film is look at how Golden State was guarding them. Because Golden State guarded them with this mindset. They got 2 guys that can beat us. We are going to force anyone else to beat us. And Portland, even when one of Steph or Clay was on the bench, Jenna, even when it was Steph plus, Draymond, Quinn Cook, Kevon Looney, and Alfonso McKinney. They were still losing him.
Yes.
They were still losing. When it was just one of those guys plus 4 non-threats, they were still losing.
And they did the same thing when Clay was on the court with them.
Absolutely right. Clay, without Durant, the biggest benefit you have is there are going to be segments of the game where the Warriors only have one real offensive threat. You have to swarm him, and if Alfonso McKinney beats you, so be it. But that wasn't it last night. What happened last night was the offense looked tired and the defense looked unprepared.
There were so many things we talked about that were going to factor into this game. How they were going to deal, how the Blazers would handle not having KD in there and take advantage of it. Who would win the battle of the backcourt, which clearly went to the Warriors. If the Blazers could slow down the Warriors in this one, which clearly they did not. But it all comes down to Steph Curry, who stepped up and once again said, well, this is what I do. We don't have Kevin Durant. We're going to do old school Warriors. And he did just that. How impressive was Steph Curry?
He was impressive. And Jenna, you're right. And that's why yesterday I thought with our friend Chris Broussard is going to be joining us today. That's why Steph should be in the conversation for best player. It's not his fault KD joined him. Now, him and KD being 2 of the top 3 players in the world, yeah, did they forfeit some stuff, potentially the MVP? But when you talk about the conversation as far as best basketball player in the world, and now with KD being out, you're getting ready to see what we saw with Steph when he was the 2-time MVP. So very impressive what he did. It was aided by the lack of a great game plan. And you cannot play Steph Curry and not make it a street fight. You cannot think you're going to chase him around the court and be able to think you're going to outdo Golden State their way. No. The reason why the Clippers series was a series, because from the beginning, they made it a street fight. They had Kevin Durant upset. They got into his mind. They knocked Steph down. They were physical with Clay. In the Houston series, the reason why he was off 4.5 games, Steph admitting that his shooting was because they roughed him up. So, yes, Steph was nice. If you let him play this finesse-type basketball, it's only going to get worse. Like, he will continue to do this. So you got to make this a street fight. You got to be able to rough it up. But, yes, Steph Curry, he put his mark on this game and on his statement as far as this offseason without Kevin Durant, why he should be included in that conversation, the best in the world.
And this is why I have so much respect for Stephen Curry, because he, more than Durant, more than Clay, more than anyone on the team, he sacrificed when he welcomed Kevin Durant onto his team. Because the world, in large degree, has forgotten how good he actually is, how dominant he can be, the gravity he alone can have on a defense. And this team was built, the team prior to Kevin Durant was built around his particular strengths. Bob Myers and company did a great job around looking at their transcendent player and figuring out why Andre Iguodala would be a great role player for them, why Draymond Green is more valuable to them than other people, and their ability to lose a guy who was playing at a higher level in these playoffs than arguably anybody, lose him, and instantly transition back to, okay, this is who we originally were. This is who we're probably going to have to be next year, and be dominant. They haven't lost a game. They haven't lost a meaningful quarter since Kevin Durant went down. That's remarkable, and that's a testament to Stephen Curry.